All right, welcome back to another segment of Good Vibes. I'm Martin False, and we are very pleased to have Debbie Cox DeNova back with us for another segment. She's always so good on these segments. She inspires us. So we're going to bring up another segment.
Yes.
Bright side of pain.
The bright side of pain.
Is there a bright side of pain?
There is a very bright side of pain, believe it or not, which is hard to believe in a society where we're taught that a happy life is a pain-free life, right? Mm-hmm. We've never had more ways to dodge and escape our physical and emotional pain than we do right now. We're somewhere in the hundreds of millions of dollars worth of pain prescriptions that are prescribed. We've got pain clinics popping up all over the place. This is not to mention all of the illegal ways that people use to escape pain. We have addictions to social media and television, lots of ways to escape the experience of pain. But there is a lot of research to suggest that our avoidance to pain and our relationship to pain and thinking that we need to avoid it is actually increasing stress, anxiety, depression, and general levels of dissatisfaction and happiness, ironically.
You know, I embrace pain. That's going to sound crazy. Mm-hmm. But I don't mind. I've told the audience before, I've had back surgeries. Mm-hmm. I've never taken a pain pill.
I know
People say, well, how can you do that?
Yeah.
Because you almost got to confront the pain.
Yes, actually that's not surprising. People who are able to produce a lot of things in life typically have a healthier association to pain. If you think about it, we've talked about this before, how the primal mind sort of wants to keep us exactly where we are because anything where we're stepping out into the unknown presents a risk. And with the risk comes the association of pain. If you have a relationship to pain that it should be avoided, then that will naturally keep you right where you are, because even things like discipline, right? Mm-hmm. The word discipline has a negative connotation to people because there's an association of pain to it. Even though in real life, discipline actually creates deeper levels of satisfaction in humans. Mm-hmm. And people who are extremely disciplined already know this. When you're able to put discipline to your life, you actually experience better results. But there are a lot of things. There are a lot of reasons why we should be considering pain as an ally to us. It's there for a reason. Mm-hmm. We live in a society now where people are trying to protect their children from pain, right? And mm-hmm. there is a suggestion that this is actually backfiring and creating sort of children who are more vulnerable, emotionally vulnerable, and less resilient in life. And there's some research to suggest that moderate levels of adversity in life mm-hmm. are actually better for human beings in terms of coping and also well-being. So they did a study where they took people and they assessed their lifetime adversity. How much lifetime adversity have you had? So they measured that, and then they took a bucket of ice water and they had these people hold their hand in the bucket of ice water. What they found is that people with low levels of adversity in their life, meaning they didn't have very much challenge in their life, mm-hmm. they removed their hand from the ice bucket more quickly, and they reported great levels of pain associated mm-hmm. with the experiment. People who had a greater number of adversities in their life were able to hold their hand longer in the ice bucket, but they also reported higher levels of pain associated with it. Mm-hmm. Interestingly enough, those with a moderate level of adversity in their life were able to hold their hand in the bucket as long as those who had higher levels of adversity in life, but they reported less pain associated with the experience, so their coping was better. And they did a survey and found that people were actually reported higher levels of happiness and well-being mm-hmm. when there was a moderate amount of adversity in life. So microdoses of adversity in a person's life will mm-hmm. actually build their sort of emotional immune system, if you will. So it's sort mm-hmm. of like an inoculation of sorts. We don't want to avoid it altogether. There's actual purpose and meaning. There's a lot of value that comes with pain.
The middle boy always is more susceptible to getting hurt, but better able to take pain.
Yes.
Because he's had an older brother.
There you go. That's it. Microdoses of pain.
Yeah. So I'm just telling parents out there, it's okay to let your kid hurt a little bit.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
You know, don't pamper him. Don't baby him too much.
It's actually
now, when they're
better.
really hurt, take them to the doctor.
Yeah, exactly. It's actually better for them, though, to experience some of life. So there was another study where they took chocolate lovers, right? And chocolate has two substances that are just irresistible to people. It's fats and sugars, right? Mm-hmm. So people who love chocolate really love chocolate. And they had these participants put the pieces of chocolate in their mouth. One and it was pleasurable. 2, pleasurable. By the time they got to the 5th piece, in general, the participants started reporting that it was starting to get less satisfactory. And by the 7th piece, they were reporting that it was actually making them sick. So pleasure, too much pleasure can actually turn to pain. But we also know that the pain can actually turn to pleasure. So there's not this delineation like we think. It actually stimulates the same neuroregions of the brain, both pain and pleasure. Both of them activate opioids, which is there to increase our experience of pleasure. This is why marathon runners experience the runner's high, right? Those endorphins that come after a long pushing through the pain.
Some people at home can't take any kind of pain.
Yeah.
And to me, stubbing my toe is worse than having a back surgery. I don't know if most people feel that way, but there's certain things that are very painful to me, other things that aren't as painful. Everybody has a different tolerance, don't they?
Absolutely. And it's very complicated because the brain, the mind will actually put layers of complication on your pain that will create suffering for you. So it goes back to the meaning. Remember we had the episode where we talked about stress and your association to stress. The story that you're telling yourself about stress is really what matters the most. And it's the same in pain, because if you have a painful situation that in and of itself you have back pain, but you're also complicating it by giving yourself resistance to the pain, telling yourself stories about the future, the associations, all of that can actually increase your pain. And so it's really important for us to reframe pain and its role that it plays in our lives. Because rather than thinking of a happy life as being a pain-free life, maybe we should revisit what Aristotle considered to be a happy life, which is a life of meaning and purpose. And pain really is there. It can be there to help us increase presence. And if you think about it, if you're in pain, you stub your toe, everything else stops, right? It's just your toe, but everything stops and your presence and your awareness goes to your toe. It gets your attention, it interrupts the cycle of everything else that's going on and asks you to pay attention to what's happening, perhaps so that you can be more careful while you're walking through the room. We talked about the hot stove, right? If a little child touches a hot stove, that's gonna be a memory. Don't touch hot stoves, don't touch hot things, right? There's pain associated with that.
But parents, don't let your kids touch the hot stove.
But don't let your kids touch the hot stove. But when pain is there, it's there to get our attention, to stop everything and say, look. Now, sometimes when we look, it's because we need to avoid this in the future. Sometimes when we look, it's because we need to adjust the circumstances of our life right now so that we can increase the levels of happiness. That's really the end game, right? So if you have somebody in your social group who's not good for you, and there's a discomfort there, an emotional pain, if you will, and you're avoiding it and you're continuing to put yourself around it, you're just prolonging your pain. Whereas if you stop and you go, okay, why do I feel this way when I'm around this person? It can actually serve you, because then you can maybe clear this person out of your inner circle and replace them with someone who's actually beneficial for you, and you can move forward powerfully.
How much of pain is learned? Because if you're talking to somebody before surgery and everybody tells you that's the most painful surgery you're ever going to have, you've already put it in your head. Absolutely. So but if you talk to people that say, it's not that bad, you're going to get through it.
Yeah.
Then you reprogram.
It's 100%. So much of it is the story that we tell ourselves about pain, which is why this conversation is so important. Because if we continue with this narrative that a pain-free life is a happy life, that we should avoid pain at all costs, in all likelihood, we're going to ironically do the opposite for ourselves. When we know that, if you think about it, we talked about this before, the movies, the books, the ones that stick the longest, that become legend and they last throughout time, they have the most adversity, the most pain and struggle for our hero. A story where a hero doesn't go through any pain or adversity is boring. A game where even your team wins, but it was by a large margin and it wasn't even a close game, it's not considered to be a good game. A good game is where there's friction back and forth and you feel the pain of almost losing, right? So a little bit of pain, loss, failure is actually good for us as human beings. We actually like it. We build monuments to people who overcome those experiences.
What was that saying? It was something I was listening. John Madden, the NFL great, had passed away this morning. And he had a quote, I know I'm not perfectly on it, but he said, before you can embrace success, you got to go through the sewer to get there.
Absolutely.
Pretty true, isn't it?
It is. It really is. Again, we're taught that it's that being pain-free and struggle-free is the aim, the goal. But in reality, that is not what if we're honest with ourselves, in all honesty, even when everything is smooth sailing, we create drama of some sort. We create the pain that we're seeking, the struggle that we're seeking. This is not to say that you have to have pain in life, but life comes with pain. And so if we're able to frame it up properly, then we can actually, not only does it increase our presence, it increases meaning. I mean, think about the ALS bucket challenge. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Where people were challenged to dump ice water over their head, right? And because of that, ALS was able to generate more money than ever before in donations because people were engaged because of the pain. Can you imagine if it was the confetti challenge, right? Throw confetti for ALS. It probably would not have gone that as far. Marathon running. Imagine a pain-free climb on Mount Everest. Boring, right? Not a lot of people would
Well,
be.
if I was pain-free running a marathon, I'd run one.
Right. But nobody would want to watch you. It wouldn't be that interesting, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And social psychologist Brock Bastian actually did a study where he took strangers and he had them experience two different experiences together. One sharing the experience of butterscotch, pleasant, right? And another group had to share the experience of eating a chili pepper. And what they found very interestingly is after these two experiences, the group that shared the chili pepper experience were actually more cooperative. It made them better human beings to share this pain with each other. Yeah. So this is not for you to engage and volunteer yourself for unnecessary pain. But if you're experiencing pain right now, or if there's pain associated with a goal in the future, it's really good to frame it up and understand that it's for you and not against you.
So I encourage everyone at home to get a hammer and stub your toe and see how much you can. Now, don't do that, but it's an example, and it's a great example. But if you can overcome the pain, boy, it creates so many parameters for you.
We might need pain for happiness.
Yeah, good point. All right, there she is. Debbie Cox DeNova. We'll see you next time right here on Good Vibes. Have a good night.